Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the critical challenges and the future of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the super high-stakes world of finance. Okay, so let's get right into it. AI is promising incredible things, right? Unbelievable efficiency, the ability to spot patterns no human ever could. But, and this is a big but, it's also bringing a whole new world of tricky, complex problems that we really need to get our heads around. So, first up, we've got to tackle this huge mystery that sits right at the heart of so many of these advanced models, the infamous black box problem. What on earth is a black box? Well, imagine a system where the decision-making process is just so tangled, so complex, that it's pretty much impossible for a human to follow. Think about a deep neural network crunching millions of data points. It might spit out an absolutely brilliant prediction, but how it got there, that's totally hidden from us. And this quote right here, it just nails the problem. When it says models have a similar limitation, here's what it's getting at. They often only see the final result, the stock price going up or down, but they don't get the why. They don't see all the complex, hidden forces that are actually causing that movement. It's like seeing the effect, but being completely blind to the cause. And that makes it really, really tough to trust what they're going to do next.
Okay, so this whole we don't know how it works thing, it leads us straight to our next big headache. How in the world do you build trust with clients when you can't even explain why your model is doing what it's doing?
Yeah, and that is a massive question, right? A model might be technically brilliant, but if it's not intuitive, if you can't tell a simple, compelling story about why it's making a call, it's just a bunch of numbers. And that's super hard to trust, especially when we're talking about real money. I mean, if a model tells you to sell a stock, but the reason is buried in a web of 1,000 variables, how is a portfolio manager supposed to justify that to an investor? So what's the answer? Well, it means we have to get way more creative with how we tell the story. We've got to move beyond old school spreadsheets and start using new tools that can literally make the invisible visible. Imagine putting on a VR headset and flying through the network of connections a model found, or watching a data visualization that clearly shows you, aha, that's why this factor suddenly mattered. That's how you start to build real trust. All right, so we've talked about a single model, but now let's zoom out. Let's scale this up to the entire market, because that's where a whole new kind of systemic risk starts to pop up. And a perfect kind of scary example of this is the quant quake back in 2007. This was a huge wake-up call. It was this moment where the market suddenly showed everyone that a ton of these really sophisticated funds were, without even realizing it, all making the exact same bets. All these algorithms, designed to be smart and independent, they all ended up doing the same thing at the same time. The result was a disaster. And this happens because of something called crowding. It's pretty simple, really. When everyone starts using similar data and similar models, chasing the same classic factors like value or momentum, they can all end up piling into the exact same traits. And that creates this really fragile system where just one little shock can cause a massive domino effect of selling, as everyone is sprinting for the same tiny exit door all at once. And this right here just shows you the danger perfectly. Look on the left. Before the quake, these crowded strategies were killing it. They were the rock stars of the quant world, amazing returns. But when the market turned, they all collapsed together. Meanwhile, look at the right. The less common, less crowded strategies. They were the ones that provided that crucial buffer. They basically acted as a hedge when everything else was on fire. Okay, last but definitely not least, let's talk about the fuel that powers all these AI models, the data. Because the rise of what's called alternative data is opening up a total Pandora's box of really tricky ethical and legal questions. I mean, just think about the insane amounts of data being generated every second, from every credit card purchase, every tap on your phone, your location data. It brings up this really fundamental question. Who actually owns that raw information? Is it the company that's collecting it, or is it you, the person who created it? And that, of course, leads right to the next big question. If some company can take your data, package it up, and sell it to a hedge fund that makes millions predicting the market, are you, the person who made that data in the first place, entitled to a piece of that action? It's a huge question that we, as a society, are only just starting to figure out. Which then forces the biggest question for the market itself. This data is becoming an unbelievably valuable asset.
So how are we going to regulate it? Because if we don't, you could easily end up with information monopolies that completely shatter our whole idea of what a fair market is supposed to be.
And believe me, these are not just some abstract philosophical questions. Having exclusive access to this kind of data could create a totally new form of insider information. Just imagine a fund that can see retail sales data in real time before anyone else. That gives them a massive, and you could argue totally unfair advantage that could change the game for everyone. So, with all these challenges, what's the path forward? Well, it's going to require a really careful balancing act between pushing innovation and being responsible. We have to be super aware of something called shadow risk. The idea is simple. An algorithm that performs perfectly on old data, kind of like a self-driving car that's only ever been trained in the sunny, flat desert, might fail and fail spectacularly when it hits a new environment it's never seen before, like that same car suddenly trying to navigate a winding, icy mountain road at night. So, what's the big takeaway here? It really comes down to three things. First, we have to acknowledge the limits. We have to understand that none of these models can capture the full, messy complexity of financial markets. Second, we've got to prioritize robustness, building models that can handle shocks. And finally, a big dose of humility. We have to remember that just because two things happen at the same time, it doesn't mean one caused the other. These are powerful tools for sure, but they are not crystal balls. And all of this leaves us with one final, really provocative thought to chew on. As AI gets more complex and more decisions are handed over to algorithms, who's on the hook when it all goes wrong? Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the company that used it, or the machine itself? If you got some value out of this explainer, do us a favor and hit like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for watching.